Hi, I'm Joe Pena, and this is Enlighten Me. Today is a special edition of Enlighten Me with my guest, Ron Head. You may know Ron from a series of videos that he did with Suzanne Spooner. They're called now the Event Series, where at the beginning they were referred to as the Event, and then there was episode 2, number 3, etc., all the way up to number 7, which took place almost a year ago to the day. Anyway, without further ado, I want to welcome my guest, Ron Head. Welcome, Ron.
Good afternoon.
Ron, there were some things that Suzanne and I discussed about you as it related. She gave us a little anecdote about how the two of you met. I believe, if I remember correctly, she was on vacation with her husband. You called for a session. She invited you up to where they were staying, and you had a session with Suzanne, and the two of you had a very interesting, and you kind of hit it off on top of just the fact that you had a very interesting session. Was this the time that because I don't recall, did you speak about the event at that point?
No.
Okay. So what was it that precipitated the two of you to want to have another session? Was it something that you heard, or was it the two of you realizing, hey, we'd like to do this again? I don't recall how that went.
I was not that aware of what was going on at the time because I had never done any QHHT.
Mm-hmm.
Suzanne, wow, what we got was, different and should be of interest to everybody, and we should do this some more. The only problem was we live 1,600 miles apart. To move up to Des Moines. That still, though, we had, a couple of dozen sessions because we were doing like one a week or so. Not every week, but pretty much. And I think that's a long time ago, but I think the first recording that was called The Event it surprised both of us. It was not on the agenda.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Not on our agenda anyway.
Yeah, as I recall, there was something along the lines of you were coming down, she was counting you out of the session, and then that's when that information started to come through, right?
Yeah, that rings a bell, yeah.
So yeah, how unexpected was that, really? And then for it to turn into a series after all these years.
And I think I mentioned to you on another call that on that particular day, I had seen Blossom Goodchild's posted and was going to look at it before I went to Suzanne's office and forgot to do that. Got back to home and sat down after supper. Oh, look, I didn't read Blossom's post. And I read it and said, oh my God, am I glad I didn't read that before I went.
Yeah. Because
she had it wasn't word for word, but it was topic for topic, exactly what we had gotten.
And you know that I have an association with Blossom Goodchild.
Yes.
The two of us are co-narrating for anybody who isn't aware of that. But I think you established a dialogue with her via email or something along those lines.
Matter of fact, we conversed back and forth yesterday about
Beautiful.
Goody, her husband,
yes,
and about a message that I posted this week.
Mm-hmm.
It was an old one, but it was about E.T. wanting to know if we want him down here or not.
Gotcha.
And so, she was getting all kinds of email about what I had posted.
I see.
And so we talked back and forth about that.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. So, Ron, you mentioned, okay. So you said it took about a month to convince you to move up to Iowa. I mean,
there was no way.
That's pretty quick.
I'm on Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
I had a job at the golf course making almost nothing but free golf.
Right. And that's important.
And minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm looking at a monthly cash income of just over what it cost me for my apartment. How in the heck am I going to pull up roots and go to Des Moines?
Right. So how did you?
I I can't even remember all of it. I remember my landlord coming up to me and said, landlady, when do you want the check? What check? Well, you gave me a $800 deposit. You do want it back, right? Yeah. However you want to give it to me is fine with me.
Yeah.
You know? And Suzanne helped make a contact with somebody there in Des Moines who wanted to rent the top floor of her house for half of what I was paying for rent already. So yeah, it just, everything clicked. It was unbelievable.
Okay. So that sounds to me like, yeah. Yeah. How beautiful is that? We don't even have to discuss it, and yet we know what we're talking about. We're discussing here. Okay. So this is something I didn't know before, was the two of you had so many sessions. And on top of that, I mean, how cool is it that you two were able to have so many within like a week apart, like a session a week for a while?
Pretty much 1 week, depending on her schedule. But, you know, because this is her way of making money, and she was doing these. I only paid her for the first one.
Beautiful. Well, she saw value in what the two of you do. This I recognize. You know what? I think I want to, would you be okay if I call Suzanne and ask her to join us?
Oh, yes.
I'm going to give Suzanne a call. And here we go. Phone's ringing.
Hello.
Suzanne, Joe Penny.
Hello. Hey, Joe. How are you?
I'm good. Look, I'm on a call with Ron Head. I thought you might like to join us. Yeah, no, serious. I thought you might like to join us. Would you?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. We won't keep you for long, I promise.
Okay.
All right. See you in a bit.
All right.
I'll send you the link.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Ron, she'll be with us in just a sec.
Great.
Hello.
You know, so Ron and I, we were talking about the events that occurred when the two of you got together after the first time. I thought it would be a good idea to have you join us. So thanks.
Yeah, I'm happy to. It's a fun story.
Good to see you again.
You're on.
So, all right, the two of you are now working together practically a weekly basis. And Suzanne, Ron did say something which was kind of funny to me, in that he said that he paid for the first session, but then the ones after that, the two of you were doing together, probably working as a team. What was it that you guys were looking for? Why the frequency? Something had to happen to cause that to occur.
Well, you know, I think from the first session, it was such a great session. It was, for me, it was new material that I hadn't tapped into before in other QHHT sessions. I thought it was interesting information that others would find valuable. So that's why we put it out, that very first one, with the help of a nice, wonderful man named Dennis Mockman, who got it out for us. And then when Ron decided to move to Des Moines, we just had a lot more opportunity to keep exploring. He was such a good subject. He's so easy to help go under. And the information was just vast. So my schedule was a little more open back then, and I had opportunities to meet up with him on a nearly weekly basis. And we just started doing these sessions. And you know, it was 7 years ago and some that the session occurred where he first mentioned the event. And then, you know, that was it was just timely information. It just seems to always be timely.
So Ron, okay, now it makes sense to me. You see, because I thought to myself, how did he just get up and move to Des Moines? And you did mention that you were already either semi-retired or retired.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, did you find another golf course when you were in Des Moines?
I found several golf courses. I didn't find any golfers. I knew some people up there who played golf, but they didn't like it very much. And it was like pulling hen's teeth trying to get them to the golf course.
I see. And you didn't work at a golf course?
No.
After that? I see. Gotcha. because that's kind of like a nice little pastime that many guys that I've known along the way would like to end up doing. Something really simple, something quiet, something easy, and they get free golf on top of that. Who wouldn't like that? You know, Ron, I just had a thought. I thought, as long as we have Suzanne here, and if you have the time and maybe the inclination, and since the two of you work so well together, and while this isn't an opportunity for a regular QHHT session, and you are really good at putting yourself under and preparing for the session, do you think you might consider doing an event series episode 8 today?
What do you think, Suzanne?
Well, I'm down if you're down. I can always come up with questions to ask. If you put yourself under, and I'll just be the question asker.
I'm good with it. Yeah.
Perfect.
So this would be the event part 8.
8. Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet. All right. In that case, I am going to go on mute. The two of you will have the floor, and I'll come back when you're finished. Suzanne and Ron, leaving it in your hands.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you do your thing. And why don't you just nod your head when you're ready to begin? Just give you
I was wondering how you're going to get the finger wave when my hands are down.
Our normal signal is a finger wave, but I can't see your fingers. So just nod your head and I'll be watching.
Okay.
Okay, so do I have permission to speak with the creator energy, please?
You do.
Thank you. All right. Well, it's nice to speak with you again. It's been a little while, just a tiny bit over a year. How are you doing?
We always do just wonderfully. Thank you.
Well, this is kind of an impromptu session. I have a few questions in mind, but why don't you begin? What would you like to share with us at this time of we're calling it the event part 8?
We have several things to share. Firstly, it is time for you to know now that there are several, quote, capital events, end quote, in progress at this time, which are part of, but are not the event that we have spoken of in the past series. They are part of that thing. However, they are on a different vibrational level. There are things going on now on your earth of which most know nothing, if anything at all. They know only what they would call rumor. They receive no information from their normal sources of information. We need to tell you that your systems of finance, of medicine, of education, of government, of literally everything are going to change drastically now. And now we will let you ask questions.
So the changes in the finance and the medicine, those are a part of the event, but not what you would term exactly the event. Am I understanding that correctly?
They are reflections of, and we've spoken of this before, they are reflections of the changes in the consciousness of those who live there now. They are what you asked for. They are what you decided upon. And if I may, I will say, we need to stop saying you asked for and you decided upon. That perpetuates the consciousness of separation. And we will reiterate what we have said many times before, there is none. So you are seeing reflections manifest of what you are and what you have decided to be and become.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. I do have a question since we haven't had this conversation for a year. What dimension is the Earth in currently?
All of them. This is not what you were looking for. Dimensions, planes, timelines, all of those things are ways of you trying to fit what you see and what you know into what is. And what you see and what you know is really an infinitesimal part of what is. There is no dimension in which you do not live. There is a great difference between that and what you are aware of. But your awareness, you see, here we go. Your awareness is expanding. Your awareness is lifting. Your vibration is lifting greatly. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Some days it feels like the vibration's up higher, some days lower. Sometimes around certain people you feel like you're in a higher frequency, and others not so much. So that makes sense that we're kind of doing this up and down right now, finding our place.
And therefore moving into the event that we have spoken of for so long.
So then, of the event that we have spoken of, where are we at this moment in time with that?
There is a frequency change which is going to lift you, all who will be lifted. And I use the word will both to indicate something that is going to happen and to indicate something that you have decided, your will. The extremely low frequency energies that have existed and intentionally been perpetuated upon your planet for millennia cannot exist in the frequencies that are due to arrive very soon.
Can you expand on that a little bit, please?
Well, your sun, which is the funnel for the energies that you experience, is about to send you a blast.
Oh.
You will feel it. You will probably be warned about it. Don't be afraid. What's the most frequent phrase you can think of in your book? Fear not. We're not out to get you. So there was a point that has been reached at which this will be of maximum benefit. There are those who will, as we have spoken before, there are those who will not receive it. See, you can send Christmas presents to people every hour for the entire year, but they must receive them. You understand what we're saying?
Mm-hmm.
And there are those who will not. Again, that word will. They will not. And an attempt has been made and is being made to vastly increase the number of those who decide to receive what is given, who decide to understand and be on and of the light.
So when that blast occurs, how will that be experienced by those that are ready to receive it and those who are not?
Many, many of you, millions more than even when we began this series, many of you have reached a point where you feel the environment that you are in. Some are aware, some are not. But it would not surprise most of those who are listening to this, for instance, if I said they can walk into a room and they know whether there's a party going on or a fight just by the energy they feel when they walk in the room. Understood?
Mm-hmm.
So, the energy that you will be surrounded by and infused with, this is prompting a whole nother discussion. That energy will raise because there will not be in your environment a far lower energy any longer. Nothing to hold you down. You do realize that you have been held down on purpose, correctly? Correct?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Well, that is coming to an end. Pretty much has come to an end. And that is what I meant when I said there are other events going on of which very few people are aware that needed to happen. And that knowledge needs to be given out, understood, and agreed to. The divisions that have been forced upon you and believed need to be healed. Separation needs to cease. Again, we're talking about a field of energy fields of energy do not have dividing lines. And since that's what you are, you need to begin on a path of learning to understand that fact. There is no separation between you and he, between you and she, between you and it, between it and the other it, and between all of you and us. We are one.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Okay, so how can the people of Earth bring light to the earth at this time?
Almost you have to decide not to. You are the light that has come. You're an undercover agent. Had to be changed from the inside. What was here had to be changed from the inside. And you are aware that in your universe, there are policies of non-interference. So the call went out. Volunteers were needed to go down, forget who they were, and work their way back home. And you answered the call. All the time. How many people do you know who say two things? One, why did I come here? Why did I come here? Why did I come here? And at the same time say, I'm a light worker. I'm a light worker. That's how the light got here. That's how it gets here. It's what powers you. It's what you are. You are not. See, the illusion is the matter that you think you are. You are electromagnetic energy in plasmic fields, as is everything else. And so the light is just, you're moving into it. It's not that it has to be called in. The quality of light that you are embedded in will change as you move into it. So you do not have to do anything. If there is something to do, it is to accept.
Well, that goes into my next question then. How can we live authentically, the humanity in whole? How can we live authentically during these particularly interesting times?
Some of you will know, some of you already know, many don't, but they soon will. You will know what's in the little package that you brought there that is so special. As I say, some of you know. You're already doing what you came to do. Some are thinking, I know I came here for something. It felt important, but I don't know what it is. You'll know. This light, as it opens you like a flower, you will know. You may be surprised to find out that the thing you enjoy most in the whole world is something you never thought of doing before. But it's what you brought there. You are going to have chances, almost without exception. You will have chances to do things which are to benefit others and not have to worry one moment about how you are going to survive, about whether or not you're going to lose your job. That will be a non-factor. And when you decide, if I do this, I'll be able to help a lot of people, but I don't know how I'm going to get the necessary funds or equipment or whatever it takes. And it'll be given to you. You won't know how it happened and why. It's just there. It fits. Universe is that way, you know, everything fits.
Very good. All right. Thank you for that. Well, I want to ask about some current events, if that's all right.
Yes.
Okay. The first one is about a topic that that's been discussed a lot lately, the UFOs and the government and mainstream media talking about that. So do you think we're going to hear the truth about UFOs and our cosmic friends this year? Or what do you think's up with all that?
The short answer is yes, but there's a much longer answer that is needed. And we go back to the feeling, the empathy that we were speaking of before. You are going to need to discern what is true. And you are going to need to discern when you are being, I'm looking for a term, gaslighted. You're going to need to know when you are being gaslighted. One of the first things you should ask is, who is telling me this and why? Did I see it with my own eyes? And if I did, is it real? Because you're also going to learn that you have seen a lot of things over the last few years that were not real. You're seeing things rampantly now that are not real. Discernment will be very necessary in the short term. Did I answer your question?
Yes, and I think most people watching this, I mean, we have a understanding of misinformation and the truth that we know and trusting our inner truth. It'll be an interesting scenario to watch play out, though, across humanity and the reactions. And we seem to be, living in a time of lots of opportunity to decide what we think about fear and how our reaction is to it. So I suppose there'll be a little of that in the mix as well, as an opportunity to learn more from. Seems to be quite the tool these days. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go with two controversial topics. Are you okay with that?
We will answer as we can.
Okay. Well, I don't know how I want to go about this. Interestingly, this morning I was looking through some articles, and a quote came up clear back from 1981 of a person that we would call is in the elite, and basically describing what needed to be done to reach the goals that they had, which is, as you read the paragraph, is essentially everything that we've lived through in 2020, 2021. So through this year, there's been so many gifts that people have found. Many have woken up. Many have gone into fear and had that experience because that's what they need. No judgment. Just that's where they went. But what do you think have been the greatest gifts of this very interesting and challenging year or so that we've had with the virus?
The greatest gifts. We would not compromise very, very important things that are being done at this time. We will tell you that the greatest gifts that you have been given are that the purpose for which your medical emergency was perpetrated upon you was thwarted. That's one great gift. Unfortunately, it wasn't thwarted for every individual because quite a few will end up being deceased because of all this. The second and far greater gift is that in the thwarting, those of you who were determined to raise this planet into the light used every tool that was arrayed against them back upon those who are trying to complete their takeover of the planet, of your lives, every individual's life, if they were allowed to live. And all that has been used and is being used and will continue to be used against them until you are all free. You don't know what free means. You have never experienced it. And you're about to find out. You will be free in every way. And you know the saying that you have, I feel like a great weight was lifted off my shoulders. Oh, you have no idea. The weight on your shoulders is so great that when it is lifted, you might cry. We might cry.
It's been a great show. Everything that's going on Earth right now, lots of watchers from around the galaxies. I know there's a lot of support coming in for the planet for this great and grand change. All right, thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to ask one more question. I don't know if we'll leave this one in or not because it's super duper controversial, but I want to ask. Is that okay?
I will answer as I can.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything that you would like to add about the US 2020 election?
There's nothing to add. It's all known. It's all known. Just a question of how many will admit what is known, how many will try to keep hiding what is known, how many will rejoice in what is known, but it's all known, is it not? Proven, factual, recorded. Now, here's what you don't know, many don't know. Recorded at the time of occurrence in real time. Recorded indelibly. So what you're seeing happen is merely an exercise to show that absolutely to everyone who will even look. There's the problem, you see, so many would not even look. Or so many would look at what they were shown on that plasma box on your wall at home with your beer and your popcorn. Whatever those talking heads say, you just drink it in. Not your fault, you understand. We're not saying that. It's what you were trained to do. Very deliberately trained to do. So what is being done is a large exercise to attempt to awaken as many of those people as possible to what the facts actually are. And then, even more important, to unite those divided factions. Did I help?
Yeah, I appreciate your perspective on that. So I would just like to maybe end with this question. First statement. In the work that I do, it has become so obvious over the years how, like what you were speaking about, how we have been trained to not trust our inner knowing, our guidance, intuition, our gut, our high self, whatever name we want to put to that, and to always go over to our analytical mind and pro and con it to death and analyze the heck out of it and diminish these thoughts of brilliance that we get in because, how can you just come up with the right answer? But what I see is this is becoming where we're heading, that we're going to be valuing that part of us that knows everything and encouraging it to be functioning fully as it should be, as it should have always have been. As we're coming out of this time of being controlled, waking up to that. So my question is, as we start to value that we carry all knowledge within us, that we're able to heal ourselves easily, what will the world be like when we're like that, when we're not doubting and fearful and analyzing and diminishing?
What will the world be like? Do you have time for me to answer that question?
I think so.
Take one facet of it, the one you were speaking of. That person, identity, which is a projection of the all, which has projected itself many times in many places, and now has a projection to where you are as who you are, will be able to live where you are as who you are. That is how your world will change for all of you, all who accept the gift that is being given. It might put some individuals out of work eventually, because no one will have to be hypnotized to find that reality.
I've already thought about that reality. I'll be very happy on that day. I think that'll be a momentous day. You don't need a helper to get to your great knowledge. That'd be awesome.
Is there anything else?
Do you have anything else that you want to share before Ron brings himself back up?
Only that, please know that trillions of aspects of consciousness are already celebrating. So you should shine up your dancing shoes. That's all we have, I think.
Well, I think that's a wonderful foot to lead off on. Thank you so much, Ron. Thank you, Creator. Thank you, Joe, for inviting me to this party. And I think that's good. I think we're great. And anytime you want to come up, Ron, you can just go ahead and bring yourself right back in. Well, you did really good. It was some off the cuff questions, and you did really, really good.
I remember many times when we would be doing this, and he'd make a comment like, I always ask myself great questions, don't I? Because you would get the questions and then bring them.
Yeah, that's how it's been. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, Joe, but how we've always have, what we normally would do is I would channel the questions in to ask. And, I would be like getting ready to go to a session. I'm like, I don't know what to ask them. I don't know what's important. And I sit down and channel some through and go, those are pretty good questions. And that's what we would lead the session off with. And then, of course, as you can tell, there's lots of opportunity to ask questions off of his answers. And it just creates a really fun conversation.
Yeah, Suzanne, I noticed that it seemed like you were asking questions somewhat organically. You had maybe a few prepared, but then others were coming in. And, well, look, the two of you, thank you so much for doing this. And you know what's really great about this is that we ended up creating, as you said, the event number 8 through this session. But nevertheless, I just want to say, give you an opportunity, Ron, if there's anything that you'd like to comment on related to the event, your relationship with Suzanne, things that you're doing today in the world before we close.
The only thing, I moved to Florida, so I have a lot of friends like Suzanne that I haven't seen in 2 or 3 years. And it's wonderful seeing them again. One close friend of both of us has just moved down about 45 minutes south of me. Good friend of Suzanne's and a good friend of mine. So I get to see her every once in a while now. But I miss all those people. But I've looked in Lowe's and Home Depot and Ace Hardware. I can't find a snow shovel around here anywhere.
Stop it. I'm going to disconnect from you now. One thing I was going to say is, so I was trying to look here real quick and I just didn't want to spend the time, but the event part 1 through 4, I think 1 through 4 is on my old channel, Infinity Healers. So if we could make a note of that somewhere, and then people can link to find the first episodes of that, because the other ones are on my current channel.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about moving those over, but then we'd lose all the views from it.
Yes,
if we did.
Yeah. Hey, Suzanne, I think I can still link to them on your playlist. Why don't I do that?
Okay.
I'll do some homework. I'll go to your Infinity Healers channel. Send me the link to that again, if you don't mind.
Yep.
And I'll update your playlist for the event series. So it'll get a refresh with the ones that precede, the ones that are presently there. And then it'll also get this one as well.
Okay.
Ron Head, Suzanne Spooner, thank you both so much for joining me. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody who's listening, who's watching. I encourage you to see the event series if you haven't seen it all. You know that you can go to Suzanne's her YouTube channel, and by the time you get there, you'll see all of them from 1 through this one, which will be number 8. All right? Well, thank you, and I'll see you again the next time. Thank you both.
Thanks, Joe. See you, Ron. Nice seeing you again.
Good to see you.
Bye, guys.